Hello, everyone. It is Matthew. It is Sunday, May the 17th, and it is 5 p.m. my time, which means it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, just having a quick look here. The market has been open for a little while. Nothing major, no huge gaps or anything like that were observed by me. So, this is the start of the week. Just zooming in here, and we have. Maybe I'll even move that little guy one more over. Oh, I even locked it just so we didn't move. But okay, so the start of the week is there, and I'll lock it, and we'll just have a look and see what's happened. So with the U.S. dollar, or this is the index, but with the U.S. dollar, we had a conversation about where it was headed. Now, last week we weren't sure. Now my bias, and I know other gentlemen who I trust their opinion are also thinking long. Um, there's several reasons for that, but this pattern alone is offering up some clues, and that's all we can work off of are some clues. So we've had a really strong run up. This is called the climax, and then it's relaxed and it's entered into. You could say it's a flag. You could say it's a wedge. You could say it's a channel. You could say it's a bunch of things. But at the end of the day, it is clearly in some kind of a consolidation range. And then we're expecting a breakout to the upside, which is what this pattern typically provides. Now, I say typically, meaning all we can do is trade probabilities. Um, to start thinking we're going to short stuff and would be going against the trend as the daily 200 EMA is right there. So we're technically in a long trend at this point. Yeah, nothing exciting going on for me with this dollar index, except for a couple pairs, and we're going to get to those. So let's move on. I'm kind of rambling here, but um, just just trying to cool off in this room. It's been really hot today, and anyways, let's move on. So the Euro USD, um, I see more downside because we're talking about dollar upside that drives the euro down, but I think we're falling through a range. You can see it came to the bottom of this trend here, and then it's just kind of gone along it, and it's been very strongly rejected as, let's see what the 4 hours is saying, and it's been strongly rejected as it did try to get back up, and it's rolling back over. So yeah, I think we're going to break out, and I'm confident a lot of you know how to use TradingView, but what we could do is we could just click on that trend line, and we can pop over to our alerts. We have it crossing that trend line. We have its Euro USD only once. It's open-ended, meaning I don't have a time set for that, which you can just have it auto cancel itself. But we have the Euro USD on the 4 hour crossing the trend line. I could write downside. Just little reminders. I don't have a position in on this yet, but it's just going to let us know, and we're going to hit create, and it's just going to let us know that we are in it's breaking through a level that we might find interesting, and that goes right to my phone. So this is one of those examples where you don't need to be on your phone all the time. It's probably advantageous that you are not on your phone all the time. I'm just going to delete that. This is a warning saying you have an alert set to that. Once you delete it, the alert will be deleted. But yeah, I'm pretty confident in downside on this, but I'm not in a position, and I just want that to be clear. But yeah, so anyways, this trend line has an alert set to it. If we get to that level, then the next levels we're starting to look for here and here as it drops, and you start getting to these other support pivots, and then you also start noticing these whole numbers, but these are not as there. I don't find there's as much efficacy in these whole numbers as of late. Sometimes, I guess you could prove me wrong with that level right there. But but in my own personal findings, and this is just a gut feeling as I haven't written this down or anything, but I'm feeling whole numbers are sometimes not being respected as of late. So okay, let's move on to the USD yen. I'm in a long. We had the run up last week. We talked about the scalp to the downside. We talked about the 50% fib entry level. And here's another great example. I know I repeat myself, but this is how we're going to learn the best. We have that run up, we have that strong run down. If we were using the 61.8, which I know some people use, or the zone, or halfway, or the 50 to me is a sweet spot, and you can see just how beautifully it really started to show respect to that level, and it's pulled away. Now it's going to start fighting a little bit to try to get through this level, and we'll see what happens. I've got a stop in and around this from here and lower. I'm not exactly sure where my stop is. I'd have to pull it up, but from here or lower. And then I think we're gonna roll up on this pattern that we are being patient about. We waited for it to pull back down. I think I got in a little higher, to be honest with you. I thought this was a very strong trend, so I waited. But I do typically trade that 50% level, but in this instance, I did not. So uh, kind of do as I say, not as I do, which I've always hated that comment. But finding a system in your actions will be very beneficial, especially if you're fairly new to this. So okay, so this is going to be one of the top priorities for this week. It's already starting to pull back. It gapped down, market open. I had a gentleman through TradingView say he was going to go long around here. And I just said, I don't see it. He goes, dude, it's already had so much support. And since we've just done nothing but fall away. So I wouldn't be long in it anytime soon. Maybe if you know what you're doing on the scalp, if you know how to. Actually, let's go back to. So we had a bull there, but nothing's painted yet. But anyways, if you went back to this level and could find, oh, this is engulfing, or it's, oh, look, it's a doji at this point. I think it's going to pull up a little bit as well. Um, but let's zoom out. I set this level. I'm running the charts a little bit more clearly this week, just so you guys can see roughly where we're going, and we could talk about trend lines and what have you. But um, so we've broken below this level. This was clearly a level of support, and the textbook says it comes back, retests it, and drops away. When you're looking at retracements, you can see I've even fibbed just from here to here, and that 50% fib level lines up with that support level. If being short the pound US dollar is important to you, and I think it is somewhat to me, I might have a limit order set already. I'll have to double check. But this pound USD, I see a lot of downside. If you got to here, the 38.2 level before the 50, I think you could get in. And if you start looking, this area here is going to start to become kind of resistance for the price, and a lot of people are going to be going short in and around these areas. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to zoom out because that's a little tight. You can see that price has just been rejected off of these levels. Sure, you could say, head and shoulders, sure, whatever, but we're rolling over and we are dropping away, in my opinion. Unless something major happens, I am in general US dollar strength this week. Um, and I've been saying in the past, when I don't know, I don't know. So, I don't rush to say anything that isn't my own opinion. So we've dropped out of the basement here, and yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think we're going to see is just further downside. How far, who knows? But I would definitely be starting to look to take profits at your second pivot. As one of the reasons why I wait for market open on Sundays is that the pivots have been updated. Whereas if you don't wait for that, it can be a little skewed when you do go run charts. So yeah, I would be looking in and around. They've done that update where they've moved your toolbar over to this side, probably even. So this is a trade that I'd be taking, and I'd be very comfortable with this trade. Um, that a little bit of pullback, having my stop up in and around this area, and then pulling down. Now I'm not in the trade right now. I'm being very clear about that. I'm going to be waiting for that level. And for you guys out there, this is something that I do a lot. And I choose, let's get an alert going on there. And I do this. I'm careful to do this So I have the 38.2% fib short, and I put a question mark. I'm very big on biases. I'm very big on our mental game in this, and we'll talk about that a lot further in the future. When we're alone in our basements, in our kitchens, on our decks, on our patios, whatever, and it's just us in the market, you really have to start to understand what it is that is driving you. And a lot of the times, like I have someone reaching out to me on Instagram right now, it's, I need a gold entry, I need a gold entry. And my question to this individual was, why do you need a gold entry? What is it about gold that is forcing you to trade it? If it's to go long, you're probably going to be fine. There's a very interesting macro event happening, a lot of pressure behind precious metals. So just go long. Like, are you looking to scalp it? But people need to understand that if you made money off of it, are you going back to the honeypot? If it's taking money from you, are you revenge trading to get that money back? And until you start wrangling some of these emotions in, you will find your P&L is constantly suffering. I find if I've been beaten up by a currency, if I just take a break, sometimes even walk away. I know that's even hard, just turning the computer off and walking away and saying, all right, I've minimized the damage. I'm going to look at you at a later time. And then you just wait patiently and snipe it. And you can usually profit that way. But if you're chasing it and it has to be 10 seconds after you've been washed out, you're entering a trade again, it's probably not the best trade. After you've been taken out, you jumping right back into another position is probably not advisable. But we'll talk more about that in the future. Anyways, we've gone on about that. That's probably one of my top watchers at this point. And you know what? Let's toss the old purple on that. But I'm going to be watching that one. And this is another one that I'll be watching. It goes again with our US dollar strength, a double top. It's not the cleanest double top on there, but we have this peaking of the Aussie dollar, and I'd be looking for downside here. I'm going to wait to see how the week progresses. You can even see, I bet if you drop down, you can see how price is somewhat flagging after a nice run down. You're having a flag, it's going to pull up, and I think it's going to drop through. So, I don't delete these videos. These are time stamped on YouTube. They're on a delay that they become deprivatized after about a week, and I'm going to play with that timeline, but I think a week will be good. That a lot is going to happen within a week. So, moving on. So the US Swissy here, let me get back up into these dailies. Is it, everyone, oh, the markets are choppy and all that. I'd have to agree. Things are really flying around here. But I think this area, if you look at that, you can see that cupping again. It looks a lot like the Euro USD, obviously. They're negatively correlated quite strongly. And then you would have a continuation. And let's put something that I will try to leave on the charts. And then when it comes to Wednesday, we'll see where we are. When it comes to Friday as well, the Friday market. So here we've had this trend line. You've had maybe a head and shoulders, and it's dropped through, and it's already retested. And if you drop down, you can see this a little more clearly. This is beautiful. It's so technically sound. At the end of the day, of course, you can choose where you're going to be putting these trend lines and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's broken through. It's come up and kissed it. If we used off of that side over there, where would you have put it? That sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it's come up very beautifully, retested it. If you're in line here with your short, had your stop up and above here, being a pivot and a whole group of EMAs, and it just beautifully rolled off. So it's now at a point where you're going to be looking at least some reaction. This area here is going to be some kind of a reaction to price. Now it could just drop away. I would be looking to short it at this point, sticking with our strength in the US dollar, drives down the New Zealand dollar. The New Zealand dollar also has been beaten up against the Aussie dollar lately. Um, so yeah, I think some more downside, at least to getting to a more even Fibonacci wave until it carries on upside. But I think for this week, we're going to be looking at U.S. dollar uh, strength until something major happens. You know, we all know that things can happen quickly. So every time I pull up the U.S. CAD, I look at oil as well. This is an example of potentially where as price moves up, it has kissed this trend line, it's dropped away, and now it's already back at this trend line. In an event like this where you have price that's come up, kissed it, and dropped away aggressively, it's hit the other side, and that wave has been completed. You have it back already. This to me is showing strength, and this is what's called a shortfall, where you have price and it hasn't made it to the other side. The trend is strong and it's up on this side. Now, this goes with our US dollar thesis, but let's also have a look at look at oil. Oil is coming up into an area where a lot of people are going to be watching it. You know, this was like a global catastrophe a couple weeks ago, and now it's not even being as talked about in some of these channels that I do not watch as much as I should, but you know, it's right there. I try to do my own analysis, but like, look, I'm just gonna zoom right in there. Like, look where this price is. I think we should be looking for a small correction to the downside. If there is more upside, that's fine. I don't have an area or a reason to trade this at any point in time, but we are coming up to a very strong area of resistance, and then you have a gap which itself acts as resistance, any part of the gap. So pardon me, that was even on the 4 hours. So yeah, like it's had a nice run up. It's rebounded beautifully. I would be looking for a little bit of a relaxation on that upward trend at this point in time. So that's the oil thought. Going back to the US CAD, and that obviously the weakening oil situation again, weakening CAD, strengthening dollar. It could be a very strong push out. And let me just, uh, you know, I don't like, I wouldn't enter this right now, but let's show that we're interested in breaking out, and let's see how right we can get things this week. So this was a trade that we talked about last week. I actually got out of it. I didn't want the exposure over the weekend, and I had done enough with it because I was in and around here. It had waved up and then it moved back, and I got out. I got out here. At the end of the day, we don't know where things are going to go, especially when they come up to resistance. But it was a good enough trade for me, and I was happy, and I moved on. So I'm not sure where this is going to go, but I would think a little more upside, at least to this area here. So moving on. We talked about this one last week. This was, you know, my poster child on Facebook with how beautiful this head and shoulders pattern was. This run up, this drop, this head and shoulders developed, this dropping away, a small pullback, and it carried on. I think further downside on this one, but I'm not entirely sure. Um, and the whole head and shoulders pattern, because it did correct, you can see that was the height of it into the head, and that's from the neckline down. This wave did correct, and it corrected. So it's done, and it needs to give us another signal or concept of what it's doing, and I don't at this point really know what it's doing. So moving on. This one was a scalp that I performed. Yeah, it was actually here that it ran up on Friday. I got in and it just dropped enough that I made a couple bucks, and it's legged up again, as you so often find. I think I'm in it. Let's see what this candle does. Closes in half an hour. So let's see what this candle does, which would give us an idea. And then this would become what's called a hanging man. So you have this run up. You know, you have a very clear bear signal happening right there. And you have markets that just opened. You have potentially this already showing weakness. But, you know, it's we got to wait. We got to wait a little bit. We got to let it give us a full answer of what it's doing, because we don't want to get in too early. Trading early is a sign of lack of discipline. There's that level that I've set just because that is a whole number, but I don't think we're going to get there. We have a lot of selling pressure behind it, as shown by the red, and then it's given a big, beautiful bear symbol. And you can see that these peaks are lined up, and so that divergence is already showing, which is great. So moving on. This is something I'm not trading that often, but the Euro Swissy, we're in an area where that has now started to confirm, which is very nice. Um, in my opinion, it's starting to, like, if this remains as engulfing as it is, um, be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, so we're down in the zone. We're down here with all of our friends, and it's being rejected, and we'll see over time what that does. I'll be honest, it's not a pair that I trade a lot, but we might find a win in there as we're checking our charts. So the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, both major commodity currencies. I have no opinion on this right now. We're getting bull signs all over the place, and we'll just wait, sit on our hands, and see what happens. But price has hopped above a previous form of resistance and is now support. So we will see. We're above the 200 EMA. I wouldn't be interested to take anything until it maybe dropped a little bit further and then gave us a signal. But anyways, that's something we'll keep an eye on. This was a beautiful wedge where it dropped out of and is already starting to head down. This was just quick lines that I drew for last week, but I've gone back and I've added some real pretty trend lines. So it is rolling over nicely, and we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, we can't get in now. It's a terrible entry. So we either wait for it to kind of come down to these levels. Something like this, if it made it here this week, would be really interesting to watch, because this is, you got your fourth pivot, you've got the meat of support and resistance in there. That's something that I would be watching. So I drew that last week, and it's doing what it said it was going to be doing, and that's the pound yen. And I think we just wait till we get down here. Um, there's no need to jump in anything. We got a lot going on this week. Sometimes you just need to take one. I know we all want to be in trades and be, oh, look at my screen. There's just 4,000 different trades screaming, and swaps being charged everywhere. What a joyous event. But we have a double top here on the odd yen. And yeah, I'm looking for downside. This is how casual I am about my charting. It's a wait game. It's setting alerts. It's me sitting in front of a computer trying to scalp 15-minute charts, or I see 5-minute, 1-minute charts. There's just no value for me in that. My value is in waiting, if I'm trading a daily, dropping down and watching those waves turn against me on a 1 hour is always a little frustrating. So I just leave it on the daily, let the market do what it's going to do. As it moves up, I move my stop a little bit, trailing stops manually. And sometimes even just still in a loss, I just keep moving a stop up a little bit just to get a little bit tighter. This is something I'm watching. It's definitely not my best trade ideas the last little while. I didn't go back and audit it, but I think I posted it like 3 times to try to catch the short. And a buddy was making fun of me that my short idea was down here, but it was in and around here was one that won. It hit that trend line, and on an hourly, it just dumped. But it's something that I'm watching, and yeah, we're obviously going to be waiting for it to hit this level here. This has been a challenging vixen, this pair, but I don't know how much more steam she has in her. But yeah, we're going to keep an eye on it, because do I even have that set at a level? To me, it looks like I have, yeah, my alert set right there. So I will wait till it gets to that level. I keep an eye on my charts all the time so I don't miss a ton. But yeah, it's Sunday night. Let's just ease into her. And the Euro odd, we highlighted these areas. Let's get back to the daily. We highlighted these areas, and it's showing value in the double bottom. So let's leave well enough alone, and maybe we can get ourselves into a trade on a pullback or something. But I have my short list of trades for this week, and if I can just narrow down and get a couple good quality trades, sometimes I do scalp. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm in and I am out. Sometimes I've taken a couple trades a week, and sometimes I've done 30. So I'm very much discretionary, and I know that is bothersome to many people, but that's how I operate. And over time, I already foresee me being a little more organized in my approach, and how I present this information to everyone on YouTube. That I don't want to be too confusing. So as we go through this, reach out, let me know what you think, and if there's ways you want me to attack things and explanation of areas, I will be sure to take notes and include them in future videos so that maybe a question that you have, someone else has as well. So moving on, this is the U.S. I don't even think I don't even know if I can trade it right now on my platform. It like gets ghosted out. I don't know whether that's because of coronavirus or the protests or whatever has been going on in Hong Kong for such an extended period of time, and now like a small resurgence of coronavirus cases. I believe the I just see more upside on this. Like it's just been kind of hovering around this level, and this level, if you go back, brings you back to, we're back to 2017. So it's not just going to jump through that super easily, but we'll see what is going to go on here. Um, anyway, so Bitcoin, let's get to Bitcoin because I thought you would have rolled over. I saw this run and now I'm watching this happen. This is on a daily. Um, I wouldn't be looking to long here or anything. I don't want to break out. If something a little more clear, maybe if a candle ran up and made a shooting star or something like a hammer family, I would get all over that, maybe go short. Uh, Excuse me, I don't trade very often Bitcoin or the currencies. Ethereum is a little easier for me to trade. The spreads aren't so silly. Um, but yeah, I do not trade Bitcoin at this point in time, unless it's something just so obvious. I'm not gonna. I know some guys just love it; they just have to trade it. So the S&P, this thing is like, are you kidding me? Like, it's not really a breakout or anything to me. Like you're coming up above this, but I was short last week and I got out like closer to here, and I can't believe it's run up. But like you've got so many macro drivers and so many issues that maybe it's not hitting now, but when this hits, I see a lot of downside. Like when you have companies out of work and already, but companies needing bailouts after one of the greatest bull markets of our time, and 35 minutes into coronavirus, everyone's asking for money, and they'll get it. That's the thing; they will get it. It's an incredible financial system that we're a part of, and we are a part of it. We're trading the same charts, so let's kind of understand what they're up about. And if you wanted to be conservative and you thought you saw this pattern that I'm seeing, you could put your stop above here and hope for some downside. But there's a lot of manipulation going on, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. So oil, we already had a look at. I'm gonna just drop down to the daily. It's run up a little bit, so I would be waiting to find a pullback of some sort. And I don't think you're going to get that right now, but the always beautiful gold. I love this stuff. I have, I mention every time, I think that I have many different avenues of ownership in gold and companies and physical and miners and whatever. So yeah, I love it. I think the price will relax over the next little while before it makes it to what I believe it could make it to, which would be, I think, the 1900 level. So yeah, here's our level right here, which is, in my opinion, the next spot. So here it's already coming up to, you can see it's in line with, and I think we're just going to take a little relaxation and then make it up there. That's my goal, but that's at 1900, whole number. We'll see whether my little theory is right about Also, the gentleman is working on this. I don't know what it's doing here, but he said he's already made a whole bunch of efficiency tweaks to this indicator. Why it's not painting on here, um, we have started an open discussion about this indicator. So just keeping an eye on it and what it's doing for us. So silver also didn't paint on the indicator, but silver is this was let's drop down to the so this is already running up strongly, and what a run it's having. Beautiful. I know I took most of my profits off because we were hitting this area, and it was a good enough trade for me. I believe if you go back in my short ideas, and there's a Euro CAD, and the short on the. I know I'm deviating here, but let's have a quick look at what this is saying because I don't think it's. We're still on this. We're still on this short. And let's see what it does. That's the S&P. But here's silver, and she just took off. Like, wow. What a you're not going to find many trades that work out any better for you than that right there. And I know it's tough. You now see it going further and further, but don't forget you made most likely a 2-to-1 on that. You made some money on that, and it is sometimes hard. You want to get greedy, but that could be a run up, provides a beautiful signal to the downside. You don't know. This could be its final blow off, and we just have to always sit and be patient and go from there. Let's see what the Hang Seng's up to. So I was just playing around with this earlier. I know I just include this real quickly, but you can see it kiss that 50 level, dropping away, and we will see what happens. So those are the opportunities that we've discussed. This week we've got the pound USD, the euro yen, but I don't know. That wave is over, so maybe we shouldn't even really talk about that. But the big one to me will be the pound USD, and if we can find a little bit of a pullback on this one, maybe long it or even short it when we start to get to these levels. Maybe we'll find a little short in there. But as the week progresses, let's see what happens to that US dollar. And I thank everyone for tuning in, and I'll catch you on Wednesday.